Okay, talk to us about how you ended up endorsing Vice President Leni Robredo.
Well, I essentially looked at when Sarah did not file. Of course, it was a signal for me because I always make my choices very public. And I looked at several parameters. And yung pinakauna dyan, because siya pinakamalinis ng record para sila ni Sarah. So walang vested interest to protect. So she would essentially be guided simply by her desire to serve the public, especially the poor. And she has demonstrated her capacity of compassion for especially those basic sectors. And I think her commitment to good governance, and to me, good governance is good economics. And good economics means good services. In simple language, both Sarah and VP Leni are good for the Philippine economy. If you want to bring it down further, drill down, good governance essentially means judicious use of scarce government resources. And both of them have shown the effective use of these resources in the offices which they managed. Second is that if you look at the years of Pinoy, where the Robredos had a major or significant role, you could see that without new taxes except for cigarette, they were able to raise tax to GDP, which is actually using all multivariate regressions, is the principal determinant of the long-term growth of the Philippines. They raised it from 12 to 14.7%, essentially through tax collection efficiency and essentially good governance in BIR and the Bureau of Customs. Third, we are at very not precarious, critical period in our development, in our history as a nation, where we have to contend with the pile of debt that we have to accumulate due to the pandemic. So we're at 60%, still manageable, but we have to be more careful. And therefore, all reforms are painful. And therefore, you need the credibility that can only come with good governance to ask people for sacrifice, to forego current comforts for long-term pain. So if you look at all the faces of all the candidates, I consider it's only Robredo who can do this.
Okay. So when did you arrive at this decision? How soon did you decide? After Sara Duterte decided not to run?
After the last day of replacement, November something, was it November 8th? So I started looking for the closest alternative to Sara Duterte.
And were you able to speak with her, Vice President Leni Robredo, about your possible endorsement?
No. Because I usually would study, I have my own data analytics group. So we had to scan our entire life. And I went through all the other four. So essentially, I come up with a decision that Robredo represents really confidence. You see, for example, when I publicly announced my support for Sarah, it was actually before an international hosted by, I will name it, Deutsche in Singapore. So that announcement actually helped trigger a local stock market boom. It rose in 1 week by 800 points. Now, this one for BP Leni, I also announced it before about 500 local and foreign investors hosted by, again, another major global bank last Monday. And I think the reception was well received.
Okay.
So in short, there is a huge constituency because what we need, given the fact that we have debt, we need private investments. And not just private investments, but foreign direct investments. So it's very critical if you want to pursue a higher growth trajectory that we can essentially lift in a rising tide, everything rises. Okay. And at the same time, you are hindered or pulled down essentially by the scars of the economic scars of the pandemic.
Okay, so basically, a Robredo presidency and Sara Duterte vice presidency, according to you, would be good for the Philippine economy, especially during this post-pandemic recovery period. But didn't your party affiliation play a part in your decision to actually endorse Vice President Leni Robredo? Because you are still a party mate of President Rodrigo Duterte.
Yeah. One, I've been asking our chat group in PDP Laban if we have a choice. They just nominated Sara and there's no presidential candidate. I asked my seatmates in another chat, that's the NUP, they also have no presidential candidate. The NPC has not anointed any presidential candidate. And last Monday, the president went on TV and said he is not endorsing anyone. So the logical conclusion is, I think that party members are free to choose according to their convictions, according to our judgment. And in fact, in Albay, where the entire Albay official dam, both incumbent mayors and their rivals, the governor and his rival, the vice governor, the entire Sangguniang Panlalawigan, all district congressmen actually went for, sorry, we set aside our rivalries just to meet, just to welcome and show our support for. So at the same time, when I talk to them, I would say 80% of them are hugely Leni Sara.